Catch up on previous parts by clicking the playlist, linked in the description. Iana hoped there would be a different future awaiting her, seeing how the story had changed. But the Duchess's fate reminded her that the changes she made were meaningless. She woke up from that dreadful daydream by the bumpy road they were riding on. Both she and Yomi were tossed around the carriage when they arrived at the resort region of the Dandelion Domain, Daisy Lake. The two were completely out of it. Iana and Konoha were taken in by how pretty and sparkling the sight was. Jennifer mentioned that he often spent time here in his childhood, so he told Iana it'd definitely be relaxing. Iana could tell he noticed that she lacked her usual energy after the incident with Amaryllis. Since then, she's had dark dreams that centered around the fact she couldn't effectively change the story. Sol was also worried, asking if the carriage ride made her feel ill. Iana frantically backed away, claiming nothing was wrong with her in the least. She feared that she had let her guard down, and assumed that Sol was wary of her. Her idea of his inner monologue was, "You're not thinking of causing trouble for Lady Konoha again, are you?" It was only for a moment, but she thought he might have actually been worried about her. Iana wanted everyone to direct their consideration to Konoha instead of her. The thought of Princess Konoha would soothe and heal her. Regardless, she didn't feel right acting downhearted in front of everyone. After all, she was technically the oldest because of her reincarnation. Yomi requested to go to the lake together with Iana. It had been a while since they were alone together. She got caught off guard by his handsomeness and tried to tell him that everyone else was still here, but he didn't care. So, Iana decided to enjoy herself a little to make everyone less worried about her. While the two sisters were fishing, Konoha caught a little fish. But when she tried to remove the hook, the fish would bite her cheek before falling back into the water. Iana helped her wipe the blood, and then decided to keep Konoha at a very safe distance from the water. Her instinct made her think the lake meant danger, making her body move without realizing it. To apologize, Iana offered to dig up a fish pond on the spot. By the time she saw what was happening, it was already too late. The story would progress just like it did for the Duchess. That was why she wanted to nip those signs in the bud before they'd ever become incidents. Iana didn't know when the story would create another incident or what it might be. Suddenly, someone called out to them from behind, asking for help because a person had collapsed. Returning to the mansion, they explained the situation to Jennifer. Iana had noticed earlier, but she thought the boy in front of her was as beautiful as an angel, probably second to Konoha. His beauty was blinding. However, she felt he had nothing to do with the dark history story. She hoped he wouldn't get abducted because of his looks. Afterwards, Sol reported that the person they saved wasn't in mortal danger. However, he believed it'd be best to monitor him for a while, seeing that the person was an elf. Jennifer mentioned that they hardly came into human settlements. Sol advised that they investigate the area before releasing the elf. Elves were strong and beautiful. They could use swords, magic, bows, and arrows. A truly all-powerful race. In Iana's middle school fantasies, they were absolutely essential. The odd illustrations in her notebook were generally elves. She used to imagine meeting an elf whenever they went mountain climbing. One day, after school, while her classmates laughed at her, she pitied them for not knowing the beauty of elves. Because they were a different race from humans, even though she was still fantasizing about hot guys, there was something special about them for her. But now, she couldn't remember what that specialty was. She'd bump into the little boy, tugging on her dress, and asking if he could come here again. She was instantly blinded by his beauty. Konoha then told him it was alright for him to come, and she introduced herself. The younger boy then said his name was Kagura Ivy. Afterwards, it was decided that the elf, Shukuna, would stay at the mansion to rest and recuperate. In the beginning, Shukuna was wary of them, but Konoha's smile and her admirable attitude softened his heart little by little. He felt that she was pure and honest to a mystifying degree. Soon after, Sol confirmed there were no hunters in the area and offered to escort Shukuna back, seeing that his wounds had healed. But Jennifer decided they'd all escort him together, especially since Konoha would miss him. Shukuna told them they couldn't allow humans to know the location of the elven village, so he asked that they escort him part way. Once they reached a certain point, humans weren't allowed to go beyond that, due to an agreement that humans and elves had made in the past. As Shukuna left, Iana suddenly got an ominous feeling, and a strange image flashed in her head. In the real story, a wounded elvish man would come seeking Konoha's help. In the hidden elvish village, separated from the human lands, the stake that had sealed away their former adversary, the vampire, had loosened and disintegrated over the course of many years. The vampires attacked the villagers, one after another, and the victims would turn into vampires. The young elf who went to find help was in tatters when he finally found his way to Konoha. She promised to do anything she could to help, but when they traveled to the elven village, they only saw tragedy. There was no remaining trace of the elves' beauty. They had already become monsters, driven by the vampiric urges. Since saintly blood was unaffected by vampiric transformation, Konoha succeeded in defeating the vampires and returned the elves to their original forms. But after protecting Konoha from a vampire who made one final attack, the young elvish man died. Yana then recalled that the elves only came up in one arc of her stories, and eventually, the vampire incident would happen. Yakura mentioned wanting to sneak into the elf village, but she quickly refused it. The others were shocked by her sudden behavior, but Yana simply explained that it could be dangerous to go there. Yagura would then return home. In Amaryllis' story, there were foreshadows of the beauty's kidnapping. This time, Yana thought the young elvish man, Shukuna, was that sign, but if he was, he wouldn't have left without taking Konoha with him. In terms of the dark history, they were still in the opening stages. The incident occurred partway after Konoha gained her true powers. Since there hadn't been any foreshadowing, Yana thought they still had plenty of time. Hence, if she went to the village at this point and fixed the seal, then maybe this time she'd be able to stop the vampire incident from happening. While sneaking out in the middle of the night, Yana thought she heard Konoha's voice calling her name, but it seemed to be her imagination. Still, she questioned if a seal could be fixed with tools, considering she grabbed all kinds of things from the storehouse. If this incident was like the time with Duchess Amaryllis, then it might happen all at once as soon as there's a sign. But that was why she needed to move quickly before it would escalate. Sol would catch her sneaking out, causing Yana to panic. He stated that people possessed a quality called the ability to learn. Avoiding things such as pain, anxiety, and fear was the form it naturally took, because if people didn't learn, they'd die. Yana asked if he knew what she was trying to do. She understood that he might be worried and angry about the way her actions affected Konoha, but she begged him not to kill her yet. Stating that this was the only option, he asked her to take him along, and if she didn't agree, he'd come regardless. She was okay with it, but on the condition he'd stand beside her, and not behind her. Yana wasn't really a big fan of horseback riding, even though she had ridden so many times. Out of nowhere, Yomi would show up, asking her to ride with him instead, giving her a tight hug. He stated that he came to protect her, and with this, he and Sol would shoot deadly glares at each other. Meanwhile, the man behind the scenes was secretly watching everything unfold. He thought Yana was foolish, believing there was nothing she could do. Yana had left a note for her sister, telling her to relax with Jinaford in the meantime. She didn't want Konoha to suffer because of her plans. Soon after, they arrived at the beautiful elvish village. Since ancient times, the elves had been the race that was closest to the gods. According to Sol, it was said that if they didn't live in a pure, holy sanctuary, their hearts grew twisted. Yana felt embarrassed hearing him read out the lore she wrote. He then asked her what brought her to the village, surprised that she already knew how to enter. Before she could answer, Yomi pointed out there were two paths. One went to a residential area, and one went past temples and graveyards. Yana decided to go towards the graveyards. Yomi suddenly threatened to kill Sol if he was being a nuisance. So, she quickly stopped him, letting him know that she still needed to cook up a meal of established trust. She was able to get Yomi to settle down like a good boy. In the story, a combination of Sol and Yomi never happened. There was no telling how things would turn out if Yana wasn't careful. She couldn't make Sol any more suspicious of her than he already was. But seeing the way she spoke to Yomi, he wasn't the least bit happy about it. He then asked for his orders, while Yana was left confused as to why he looked upset. They would arrive at the entrance of a cave, which was a forbidden area. Sol would take the branch from Yana and lead them inside. This time, Yana swore to protect Konoha from the story, no matter what happens, and prevent the vampire episode from happening in the village. Sol noticed a strange presence below them. He warned that going any further would be dangerous, but she insisted on going ahead. The depths of the underground extended from the graveyard. Once, when the elves were on the brink of annihilation, they sealed away the body of evil that caused their plight in this place. Possessed of a resilient body and a long lifespan, the vampire used charms and fangs to trample over others, and this was his tomb. They came across huge bloody stains on the ground and walls. Examining it, Sol mentioned it was still fairly fresh, meaning it hadn't been here long. He and Yomi noticed there were signs of struggle as well. It was as if someone splashed blood all around. Yana still pressed forward, despite their warnings. The incident itself happened to be far in the future, in a different episode. She just wanted to check on the seal that would become the sign, and then go home. But she was shocked to see that the vampire's tomb was open. Ooh, a vampire arc for the end. Only 2 more episodes before it's over. Subscribe to keep up with next week's part. But for now, watch this next video. It's me, ComfyTea. I'll see you all in the next one.